I still remember the exact sound the glass made when it hit the wall. Not shattering like in movies, not dramatic. Just sudden, sharp, final. "You're not doing this," Dad said, voice like gravel. "We didn't put you through MIT so you could sit in a coffee shop and play Mark Zuckerberg. You're joining the business." End of discussion. The ice clinked in his glass as he took another sip, barely waiting for my answer. He always did that, steamroll a conversation before it could even start. I stood there in our perfect kitchen, marble counters, chrome fixtures, one of those smart fridges no one ever actually uses. And I realized something. I didn't want any of it. None of it felt mine. "I already built the prototype," I said quietly, gripping the edge of the counter to keep my voice steady. "It's called QuickBridge. It's simple, scalable, and it works. Small businesses are drowning, and this could help them get above water again." He scoffed. "Jesus, Lucas. Enough of the savior complex. While you're off chasing some startup fantasy, your sister's closing million-dollar contracts. She's a partner now. What are you?" "A guy in a hoodie freeloading in his childhood bedroom." I looked to Mom. She was across the kitchen, still, like furniture. One hand loosely around her wine glass, the other resting on the edge of the island. Not even flinching. "Mom," I said, "please. You've seen how hard small businesses have it. You said it yourself when that bookstore on Main closed. This is the kind of solution they need." She didn't look up, just sighed and examined her nails. "Your father's right," she said finally. "You've always been too. Head in the clouds, Lucas. Brown and Sons needs you. It's been in the family for 3 generations." That part stung more than I expected. Because the truth? The company was dying. I knew it. They knew it. Everyone but Dad would admit it. Old systems. Bad software. A dozen missed opportunities. They didn't want my help because they believed in my skills. They wanted a free fix before the ship sank. "I'm not asking you for anything," I said. "Not money. Not support. Just time. I have my savings." He slammed the glass down. This time it didn't break, but the silence after? That was louder than anything. "You've got 1 hour," he growled, standing up. "Then I want you out of this house. Let's see how long you last on your own." It was like the floor dropped out under me. No yelling. No tears. Just cold, hard dismissal. I nodded once. I wasn't going to give him the drama he was clearly itching for. Then I turned and walked upstairs. Every step up that staircase felt heavier than the last. I grabbed my bag, already packed. 2 changes of clothes, my laptop, external drive, some papers, and the hoodie I practically lived in. I hadn't even unpacked from when I got home after graduation. I think, deep down, I knew this day would come. I stood in the doorway for a second. Looked at the shelves with my old science trophies. The framed article from when I won that statewide coding competition in high school. The one that got me the MIT offer. I felt something pinch behind my eyes. But I didn't cry. My phone buzzed. Operation Exit still happening? Haley. Already in motion. I texted back. When I stepped outside, the air was crisp in that way it only gets late at night in early spring. The porch light flickered behind me. I didn't look back. I didn't go straight to Haley's, though. I parked my car 2 blocks from the house. Far enough that they wouldn't notice me, close enough to snag the Wi-Fi I'd personally installed for them. Because of course I had. I opened my laptop, plugged in my power bank, and started coding. It wasn't about proving them wrong. Not yet, anyway. It was about not losing me in the middle of their expectations. A little past midnight, Haley knocked on the car window. She held up a takeout bag and gave me a weak smile. "Still refusing the couch?" "I need to stay mobile," I said. "In case they try to drag me back." She slid into the passenger seat and handed me the food. The smell of garlic and sesame filled the car. "You look like crap," she said gently. "I feel like crap," I muttered. She leaned forward to look at my screen. "This it?" she asked. I nodded. The dashboard glowed faintly in the darkness, simple tiles, a clean layout, no fluff. Just what a small business needed to survive. I started explaining inventory, PS, CRM, analytics. All connected, all streamlined. She didn't interrupt, just watched. "You built this in, what, 3 months?" she asked after a while. "Closer to 6, I said. "Between freelance gigs and pretending not to exist." She leaned back. "My dad still writes customer orders on napkins. Maybe you're onto something." I gave a tired smile. We sat in silence for a moment. Just the click of keys and the occasional slurp of noodles. Then she said it, soft, like she wasn't sure she wanted me to hear. "I think you were brave for walking away." I didn't know how to answer that. So I didn't. Just kept coding, heart pounding quietly in my chest. That night, in the cramped front seat of a 10-year-old Honda, eating cold noodles and squinting at a screen. That was the first time I felt like I wasn't just running away. I was running towards something. The next morning, the sunlight hit my windshield like a spotlight. I'd barely slept. My neck ached from the weird angle I'd passed out in, and the hoodie I'd used as a pillow wasn't helping much. I rubbed my eyes, reached for the protein bar wedged in the glove compartment, and booted up the laptop again. The car was freezing. The windows fogged from my breath. But I didn't care, because QuickBridge was alive. I had 3 small businesses in beta already: a used bookstore, a food truck, and a local hardware store that still wrote receipts by hand. They weren't paying yet, but they were using it. And they weren't yelling at me about bugs, which felt like a win. By week 2, the bookstore owner, Marcia, texted me out of the blue. "Hey, I just sold 5 books in a day through the new system. That never happens. Whatever you built, it works." I stared at that message for 5 full minutes before replying. It was simple, nothing poetic. Just, "Thank you. Let me know if anything breaks." But the moment I hit send, something shifted. For the first time in months, I believed, not just in the product, but in myself. That night, Haley invited me over to her apartment again. Her parents were out. The place smelled like warm sourdough. And for once, I accepted the invitation. We sat cross-legged on the floor, eating grilled cheese sandwiches and watching Shark Tank on mute. She nudged me with her foot. "When are you pitching this?" I frowned. "To who?" "To anyone. You keep hiding in your car and coffee shops like someone's chasing you. You know this thing is real now, right?" "I know," I said quietly. I'm scared if I bring it out too early, someone will crush it. Or worse, laugh at it." She didn't say anything for a second. Then, "You've already been crushed, Lucas. You're still here." That landed harder than she probably meant it to. I looked over at her. She was scrolling something on her phone, casually chewing, like she hadn't just peeled me open with one sentence. "You're the only person who ever really believed in me. You know that?" I said. She smiled without looking up. "Yeah, well, someone's gotta." A week later, I found an envelope on the table at the coffee shop I'd made my second office. No note. Just my name, scrawled in that perfect, terrifying handwriting I recognized immediately. Inside was a stack of crisp $100 bills. And a folded piece of paper. "Don't be stupid. Come home. Jane." My sister. Jane, who never broke rules. Jane, who never questioned Dad. Jane, who had once told me that I was wasting my potential by building apps no one asked for. I stared at the envelope for a long time. Then I used half of it to buy a better laptop and pay a designer to help clean up the UI. The other half, I kept. Not for survival. For runway. Because I was ready to fly. About a month after that, I got an email that made my stomach flip. Owen Grant, Ridgeview Capital. Subject: Interested in a conversation? It was short. No fluff. "One of our portfolio founders forwarded your QuickBridge link. We think what you're doing is interesting. Let's talk." I read it 3 times before daring to breathe. I replied with trembling hands, trying not to sound too desperate. "Would love to chat. I'm free anytime." He responded 2 hours later with a meeting link. I borrowed one of Haley's cousin's suits. It was a little big in the shoulders and smelled like cedar, but I didn't care. It was the best I had. The meeting was in a WeWork downtown. I got there 20 minutes early and still felt late. Owen was calm, clean-shaven, maybe late 30s. He had the kind of eyes that scanned everything in one glance, but never made you feel small. "Walk me through it," he said, gesturing at the screen. So I did. I showed him how QuickBridge lets small businesses track inventory, process sales, communicate with customers, and manage online storefronts, all from one place. All without needing an IT team. I stumbled a bit. Said too many times. But I got through it. When I finally looked up, he was nodding. "This is good," he said. "Really good. How many users?" 34. 16 paying. 0 churn so far." His eyebrows lifted. "All word of mouth." "Yeah. I haven't marketed yet. Just local. And all built by you." I hesitated, then nodded. "Mostly. Haley helps with customer support. I hired a designer recently. But yeah, it's me." He leaned back and smiled. "You remind me of a founder I backed 10 years ago. He was scrappy like you. Worked out of a storage unit." "Did he make it?" I asked, trying not to sound like a kid at story time. "He's on his second yacht." I laughed. mostly because I didn't know what else to do. Then Owen got serious. "We'd like to offer you seed funding. $2 million for 20%. I froze. That was more money than I'd ever seen in one place. More than I'd imagined. But then he added, "One thing. We want you to expand. Not just small businesses. There's a huge gap in mid-sized logistics. Think legacy companies. Family-run. Stuck in the early 2000s. My chest tightened. He saw it. "You know a company like that?" he asked, watching me. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I do." He didn't press. Just smiled. "Then I think we understand each other." That night, back in my apartment, I opened the folder he gave me. The numbers were solid. The deal was clean. The autonomy was mine. Except for one thing. The part of the market he wanted me to chase. Brown & Sons. The very company that kicked me out. The one I swore I'd never touch again. I sat there for hours. Then I opened a hidden folder on my laptop. LF Alpha. I hadn't touched it in months. But now it was time. Because maybe the best way to win wasn't to fight them. It was to build something they couldn't ignore. Even if it came with my name scratched off. The first time I launched LF Alpha again, my logistics-focused version of QuickBridge, I stared at the loading bar like it was some ancient beast waking up. It had started as a side project. A just-in-case thing. Lines of code I wrote in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, thinking about every broken process, every clunky report, every clattering .matrix printer I'd seen at Brown & Sons. I knew their systems better than I knew most people. How could I not? I grew up watching Dad yell at interns because the invoice formats didn't match or the tracking dashboard froze mid-refresh. That place was a mess. Not because they didn't work hard, they did, but because they refused to evolve. Legacy pride wrapped in outdated spreadsheets. LF Alpha, or what I now called Logiflow, was everything they refused to become. Clean, modular, fast, simple. No 20-click processes, no jargon-riddled menus. And the best part? I'd already been quietly testing it under the radar with 2 clients I'd met through Haley's network. They were mid-sized operations, freight logistics, warehouse management, last-mile distribution, and they loved it. No bugs, no fluff, just solutions. So when I told Owen I had something in development that fit exactly what he wanted, he leaned in. Fast. "How soon can it be demo-ready?" "It's ready now," I said. "We've already got 2 companies running on it." Owen raised an eyebrow. "You've been holding out on me?" I smirked. I wasn't sure I'd ever show it to anyone. "It's personal." He gave a slow nod. "Understood. But now you're showing it." I exhaled. "Yeah, now I'm showing it." Within a month, Logiflow had its own landing page, branding, and a shell company registered in Nevada. We didn't use my name. No ties to QuickBridge. Just a sleek new face for a product that had already been battle-tested. We called the company StratusCore. We hired a small, nimble sales team. People with zero connection to me or my past. They knew what to say, what not to say. We were careful, deliberate. 3 weeks after launch, our sales team got a bite. Brown & Sons Freight. The email came from a new CTO, someone Dad had hired after the 3rd internal outage in 6 months. Apparently, the guy was scrambling for solutions. The subject line read, "Digital Infrastructure Proposal Inquiry, StratusCore Solutions." I stared at the screen so long that Haley had to physically wave her hand in front of my face. "Lucas," she said, "are you breathing?" "I think so." "You okay?" "No idea." I took a walk, then another, then sat in the stairwell and just stared at the wall. This was it. The company that told me I wasn't good enough, that my ideas were a waste of time, was now requesting a demo for the very system I'd built to replace theirs. It was poetic. It was painful. It was also terrifying. Because if I got this wrong, they'd know. I didn't plan on joining the demo, but I did plan every second of it. Our lead sales rep, Jules, who'd never met me in person, by design, handled the pitch. She was confident, smart, charming. She used words like scalable and seamless integration, with such ease I almost believed I hadn't written the script myself. And then, there he was. I watched the demo from a secure back-end feed, hidden. My father, sitting in the back of the conference room, arms crossed, jaw tight. That same sour expression I'd seen 100 times when someone younger than him dared to say cloud-based. He said nothing during the first 20 minutes. But his eyes, they never left the screen. He watched every transition, every click, every chart. His fingers drummed softly on the table, the only sign that something was getting to him. When Jules demoed the customizable inventory system, a direct fix to one of Brown and Son's biggest pain points, I saw his mouth twitch. Not quite a reaction, but close. And then came the real test. Jules clicked into the logistics dashboard, complete with real-time tracking, delay alerts, and supplier analytics. All clean, all automated. The room went still. One of the board members, a guy I barely recognized, leaned forward and said, "This is what we've been asking for years." My dad stayed silent. Another exec chimed in. "Jonathan's company is already using it. He said onboarding took 2 weeks." My father shifted in his seat. "We'll consider our options." But Jonathan didn't let it go. "We've seen the options, Richard. 12 vendors in 2 months. None of them come close to this." He sounded tired. "Done." My father didn't reply, just stared at the screen like it had betrayed him. The call ended. The board scheduled a follow-up. And me? I sat in my apartment, laptop on my knees, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Because it had worked. They didn't know it was mine, not yet. But they wanted it, needed it. Logiflow was in. And for the first time, I felt something new in my chest. Not pride, not relief, power. The kind of quiet power you get from building something in silence while everyone doubts you. The kind that doesn't need applause, just results. And this was just the beginning. The merger proposal wasn't my idea. Not at first. It was Owen's. "You've already built the infrastructure," he said, leaning across the table in our tiny downtown office. "Why just sell the platform when you can own the whole thing?" I stared at him, caught between disbelief and panic. "You want me to buy Brown and Sons?" He shrugged, calm as ever. "It wouldn't be you, technically. It would be StratusCore. A clean acquisition. Seamless. Silent. We restructure the company, keep the brand, modernize the operations, and you stay behind the curtain." I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. "Do you know how insane that sounds?" "I do," he said. "And yet, here we are." I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. Because some part of me had already imagined it. That I wouldn't just be the guy who proved them wrong. I'd be the one who saved the business they almost destroyed. But still, owning my father's company? The one that kicked me out without a second thought? It didn't feel like revenge. It felt complicated. "Give me a few days," I said. "Of course," Owen replied, standing. "But don't wait too long. That company's bleeding fast. And right now, we're the only ones offering a transfusion." I spent the next 48 hours doing nothing but thinking. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Every memory of that house, that business, my father's voice telling me I was wasting my life, it all came rushing back. But then I remembered something else too. My mom. Quiet at the kitchen island. Always watching. Always calculating risk without ever saying a word. She knew. She always knew. I called Jane. She answered on the second ring, sounding exhausted. "Please tell me this isn't about Dad," she said. "It's about the company," I said. "And I need your help." She sighed. "Let me guess. You want to buy it?" "Not me. StratusCore. It's cleaner that way." There was a pause. "Do you know what you're doing?" "No," I admitted. "But I know what they need. And I know how to fix it." Another pause. Then, finally, "Send me the documents. I'll review them tonight." "Thanks." "Don't thank me yet," she said. "This could get messy." It did. The board set an emergency meeting. Most of them had already seen what Logiflow could do, and they were ready to vote. The numbers were bad, worse than I thought. Client attrition was climbing. Operational costs were out of control. And Dad, he was slipping. Jane told me he'd stopped showing up to some meetings altogether. "He's not himself," she said. "But he'll never admit it." I sat in my car outside the building the morning of the vote, wearing a suit I bought secondhand but had tailored just enough to look intentional. Haley texted me from inside. "Board's in. Your mom's here too." "And him." "Just walked in. Looks tired." I stared out at the building, at the company that had once defined our family, and almost defined me. Then I got out and walked in. Security didn't recognize me at first. One guy actually stood up like I might be lost. "I'm expected," I said quietly. "Lucas Brown, representing StratusCore." He typed something, frowned, then nodded. "You're on the list." The elevator ride up felt longer than I remembered. Every ding sent a ripple of anxiety through my chest. The boardroom was exactly as I remembered. Cold. Glassy. A place where emotions went to die. My dad was at the far end of the table. He looked older. His tie was loose. There was a half-empty coffee cup next to him and a paper he wasn't pretending to read. When he saw me, his eyes narrowed. What the hell are you doing here? I'm here to present the proposal, I said evenly, sliding my laptop onto the table. You don't belong here. Actually, Owen said from across the room, he does. As principal representative of Stratus Core, his input is critical to this acquisition. The room shifted. Chairs creaked. A few board members exchanged quiet looks. I took a breath and plugged in. The screen lit up with the Logiflow dashboard. Then the proposed structure of the merger. Then the numbers. Stratus Core is offering full operational takeover, I explained. We'll retain the Brown & Sons name, but completely modernize the back end. Staff stays. Legacy stays. But control transitions to us. The company survives and adapts. Dad leaned forward, mouth tight. You're trying to steal my company. I'm trying to save it, I said, barely keeping the shake out of my voice. You could have worked with me. I tried. You abandoned your family. No, I said, looking him dead in the eye. I tried to build something. You just didn't want it unless it was under your control. The board went still. Then my mother spoke. Her voice was soft, but steady. Richard, she said, I've seen what Lucas built. What he sacrificed. This isn't about pride. It's about survival. He looked at her like she'd slapped him. You're siding with him? I'm siding with the company, she said. The one your father started. The one you're about to bury if you don't let go. He looked back at me. What is this? He asked. Some elaborate revenge fantasy? No, I said. This is your second chance. And mine. Owen stood. The board has reviewed the terms. It's time to vote. One by one, hands went up. Mine didn't. I wasn't a board member. Just the ghost at the edge of the table. When it came to my father, he didn't move. Everyone waited. Then, after a beat, he raised his hand. And just like that, it was done. The room stayed quiet. But something had shifted. A chapter had closed. And another had just begun. The first few weeks after the merger felt like walking barefoot through broken glass. There was no celebration. No victory toast. No cinematic moment where everyone clapped and realized it had all been worth it. There was just the work. Long nights rebuilding legacy systems. Heated emails from senior staff resistant to change. Passive-aggressive comments from a few holdouts who still referred to me as the kid who ran off to code. And my father, he didn't speak to me. Not directly. Not in meetings. Not even in passing. He showed up once or twice a week, sat silently in what was now a ceremonial corner seat, and left before the coffee cooled. I didn't expect more. I didn't ask for it. But it still stung. Stratus Core took over day-to-day operations. Jane handled the legal handover with a precision that bordered on surgical. Haley, now our chief customer officer, was overseeing onboarding for dozens of mid-sized logistics firms who had been watching the merger and now wanted in. QuickBridge, our original platform, was thriving. The small business sector loved it, clean, affordable, no bullshit. But it was Logiflow that was blowing up. Turns out, companies like Brown & Sons were everywhere. Big enough to feel the pressure, too small to afford custom enterprise software. The moment one company made the leap, 10 more followed. I was in the office late one night, sliding through performance charts, when I heard a knock. Not on the door. On the glass wall. I looked up. Dad. He stood there awkwardly, still wearing a blazer but no tie. His shirt was wrinkled. His expression unreadable. I waved him in. Doors open. He stepped inside slowly, like he wasn't sure he was allowed. Didn't think you'd still be here, he said. Didn't think you'd stop by, I replied. He glanced at the screen. KPIs, client satisfaction metrics, projections. All pointing north. He nodded once. These numbers are good. I waited. He rubbed the back of his neck. Something I hadn't seen him do since I was a kid, and asked where babies came from. I was wrong, he said finally. About you. About all of it. I blinked. That's unexpected. I thought if I didn't control it, I'd lose everything, he went on, voice low. Turns out, by trying to control it, I almost did. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. He looked around the office. The clean walls, the glass windows, the quiet hum of something new being built. You made this, he said. I nodded. It's not what I would have done, he added. But it's better. That last part hit me in the chest harder than I expected. We stood in silence for a long moment. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and said, Your grandfather would have been proud. I swallowed. Hard. Thanks, I said quietly. He gave a small nod, then turned to leave. But just as he reached the door, he stopped. Lucas. Yeah. I know I'm not CEO anymore. But I've still got a few connections. Clients. Partnerships. People who trust the Brown name. I tilted my head. Are you offering to help? He smiled, crooked, tired, but real. I figured, it's about time I learned to be useful your way. That night, I didn't go home right away. I walked the few blocks to the house I'd grown up in. The porch light was still the same. The hedges still too perfect. The Wi-Fi, ironically, still running off the system I set up 3 years ago. Mom met me at the door. You're late, she said. I was working. She pulled me into a hug before I could say anything else. Inside, the kitchen smelled like rosemary and garlic. Haley was already there, sitting at the island, helping my mother plate dinner. Jane was setting out glasses, telling some wild story about a lawsuit that involved a goat and a trampoline. I didn't ask. Dad arrived 10 minutes later. He wasn't wearing a suit. That alone made me blink. He walked in like he used to when I was a kid, slightly frazzled, muttering about traffic, kissing Mom on the cheek before sitting down with a grunt. And when he looked at me across the table, he smiled. Not the forced one. Not the polite corporate one. The real one. The one I hadn't seen since I was maybe 10. Halfway through dinner, Haley nudged my foot under the table and whispered, "So, this what success feels like?" I looked around. At the family I thought I'd lost. At the business we'd rebuilt from the ground up. At the people who once doubted me, now working with me. I smiled. No, I whispered back. This is what peace feels like. The road that got us here wasn't clean. Wasn't fast. Wasn't easy. But in the end, it was ours. And that made all the difference.